Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:04. For anyone who I have not met yet, my name is Jordan Crowley and I have the honor of serving as chair of the 34th District Democrats. Really quick before we get started, I won't go into too much detail, but we do have just a quick code of conduct reminder. We do have a code of conduct, and we do have mechanisms for enforcing that code of conduct, up to and including removal from the meeting. So be nice. Next, we'll have our first vice chair, Rachel Glass, for our landing.
Thanks, Jordan. Hi, everybody. And can we just give a big round of applause to our organizations who are staffing the tables. So generously of their time to be with us today and to help offer opportunities to everybody for how you can, spend some. I'm sure many of you have so much free time, but if you are looking for ways to expand yourself and find ways to do something, joining a group or an organization or a club is a fantastic way to do that. And that is a way to do something. If you're wondering where to start, that is a great place to start, especially if you are fired up by what this group has to say or what their beliefs are, what they're doing for the community. That is a great place to start because you are just adding your super special superpower of energy and volunteer time and all the things, money, all the things that these groups depend on to help strengthen our community. So thank you for that. On behalf of the 34th Legislative District Democrats, I acknowledge the land on which we stand today as the traditional home of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, Puyallup, and Muckleshoot nations. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering or to this dialogue. And I ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land on which we live and work, who are still here. And, if that weren't enough, as part of the 34th District Democrats' commitment to walking the walk, of taking action that goes beyond simply a verbal land acknowledgement, we are offering ways that you can take action with us by donating to Indigenous-led organizations that are in our community and our district, they're here, and we have great opportunities to meet them and find out about them and learn and give them our community that we can all share together. So please consider a donation to these organizations, and I'm going to highlight one right now. Your donation can be a way to solidify your commitment to the advocacy of our Indigenous neighbors. So tonight's organization that I'm highlighting is the Heron's Nest, and I don't always get a personal opportunity to interact with these organizations that I'm highlighting, but this week I've got the good fortune of going to meet with the lead steward of the Heron's Nest, and she gave me a tour of the area and of the land and gave me some information about tours that they do of the land, so to learn about the history and all of that. It was really wonderful, and I encourage you all to go to a tour, and they're free, and you can learn from an Indigenous viewpoint the history of our land. It's really quite moving and profound. So the Heron's Nest, and the information is right up there. And anyway, I'm gonna put stuff up on Slack information as we go through time, just so you can get info about it, and we can talk about it, the good of the order and all that good stuff. So thanks again. Yes. They are located right up the hill, like up the hill directly almost from the Duwamish Longhouse. So they are in our district, they're nearby, it's easy to get to. If you have any questions, you can come talk to me afterwards, but it really is a must-see opportunity. So, thanks again, everyone.
Up next, we will go quickly through our consent agenda. So this really just includes our approval of our meeting minutes from last month's meeting, as well as tonight's agenda. So, and for those who haven't seen it yet, there's a membership meeting packet on all the tables. And on the front sheet of it is the agenda for tonight. So we'll start with the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting? So, thank you.
Who is second?
Any objection to approving the minutes? Any objection? All right, hearing none, we'll consider the minutes adopted and move into adoption of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? So moved. Randy again, is there a second?
Second.
Any objection to adopting tonight's agenda? Any objection? Great, moving right along. Next thing, we'll have our treasurer, Rebecca, come up to talk about our treasurer.
All right, hi everybody, good evening. As the slide shows, we are actually in a very strong, I should say, actually, we are in a very strong financial position. We are in the last month now, April, of our fiscal year, so May will start the new one. That is relevant because tonight, one of the things that Cheryl will be walking us through is his proposed budget for the next fiscal year. And that has a projected carryover of $25,000 to start the new year, which where we're trending is actually very good. It's being fundraiser, which is at the end of May, but we're raising money for it now, and membership has remained strong, all great. Expenses are all the predictable, normal stuff. This meeting room, our Zoom account, there is nothing terribly surprising in there at all. As always, if you have any questions, please come find me. Otherwise, good work to you.
I'm not gonna back
I'm sorry.
I didn't notice any elected officials who are not candidate. Actually, we got a school board president at the top. Would you like to come up and say something?
I'll be real quick.
It's wonderful to be here this evening. Gina Top, School Board Director for District 6, which includes West Seattle, South Park, Soto, Pioneer Square, Georgetown. And it is great to be here. Usually school board meetings are on Wednesday nights, so I miss the 34th meeting. Just some very basic things that I'm sure you're seeing in the news. We have a new superintendent who started in February at Seattle Public Schools. So we're very excited. His name is Ben Schuldner. He is out there visiting all 105 schools in his first 100 days. So really learning our system. We also are dealing with a $100 million budget deficit, a structural deficit. So how are we going to move forward and figuring that out and hopefully have a pathway forward within the next 2 years. So we're sort of stopping, taking from our fund balance, or as I think of it like our savings account. So we're actually a financially sound district. Other than that, excited to be here, but if folks have further questions, I will be back there. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone else. If you're not here, raise your hand. Cool. Okay, then move on to campaign spotlights. So for those who are not familiar, ahead of every election, we have candidates who are up for election, and that in the year's elections, come to our meetings to talk about their campaigns, their candidacy, why they decided to run. So tonight we have 7 candidates here with us, and we will start with the Supreme Court Justice candidates. First with Ian Burr.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? Good. Well, it's nice to see you all, and thank you for having me. My name is Ian Burke, and I'm one of your appellate judges at the Washington State Court of Appeals. And I'm running for Supreme Court position 4. And I'm endorsed in that race. Well, I'm off to a pretty good start. I think I'm endorsed in that race by Justice Salomon Jr., Justice Mary Yu, Justice Steve Gonzalez, and Justice Gilbert McLeod, Justice Raquel Lewis, former Governor Inslee, King County Executive Anais Alai, and here in the 34th District, Senator Alvarez and Representative Fitzgibbon. So with that, I was appointed to the Court of Appeals in 2022 by Governor Inslee, where I heard hundreds of cases affecting Washington families and small businesses all across the state. And before that, I was a lawyer for 20 years. I represented individuals and small businesses, typically taking on more powerful roles, from insurance denials to workplace discrimination to consumer protection. I was a volunteer lawyer for 10 years at the King County Bar Association Neighborhood Legal Clinics, where I worked with consumers and many attorneys. And I'm a product of Washington Public Schools exclusively. Yep. I went to public school in Washington and then University of Washington, both for undergraduate law. And all of that shapes how I see the law. It has to work, it has to be accessible for everyone at an individual level. And, I think of clients I had like speaking of public school teacher who paid into a life insurance, group life insurance policy for years before going on disability and sadly passing away. And then the company didn't pay that claim because apparently a form was not submitted when she changed from work to disability. And you would think that you could resolve that by writing a letter, a stern word letter, but that's just not the society we live in. And instead, they try to take the case to federal court and apply federal benefits law established by the Roberts Code and give the insurance company discretion when they're paid. Now we prevailed in that fight, but that was just kind of the kind of fight that I had. And it's the kind of voice I think we need in the appellate conference room. I will close just by saying one more thing. Serving as one of your appellate judges at the Court of Appeals is a real dream job for me. And I'm incredibly grateful to all the voters of King County for letting me be here. What we do at the Court of Appeals, we decide cases in groups, in panels of 3, where our job is to talk about the facts, talk about the law, and listen to one another. And make sure that our decision is the best that the entire group can make together based on everyone's experiences. So we're listening not just to parties, we're listening to all the other judges with their diverse experiences in the room. And of course, that's what the Supreme Court does too. And I ask myself, why do we have 9 people on the case, or 3 people on the case? That's the reason. It's to benefit from everybody's wisdom. And I say that I've been endorsed by virtually all the appellate judges at the Court of Appeals in Washington. And I honestly don't know how moving that is to voters. The Court of Appeals is a little obscure, but it's incredibly moving to me because these are judges that I've worked with. I've worked with all of them in all 3 divisions of our court, Tacoma, Spokane, and and we check our work, they check our work, they grade my work, and they are willing to have me grade theirs. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Hope to earn your support.
Next, we will have Sean Bone.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean O'Donnell. I'm a King County Superior Court judge. I'm really happy to be here. I have devoted my professional life to public service. I started out as a King County prosecutor where I worked for 12 years on some of the hardest cases that we see in our court system. I was mostly focused on homicide cases and cases involving sexual violence. I want to pause on that public service piece for just a second and recognize my good friend, Judge Greg Canova, who is here, who is a member of your district. He is the epitome of public service. He gave his career to the Attorney General's office, and then as a Superior Court judge, he swore me in as a lawyer. I was his intern, and I ended up taking his courtroom when he retired. So Greg, it's really good to see you. So when I was a prosecutor, I worked on the Green River Killer case, which affected me both professionally and personally. That was 2.5 years of my life, hearing about the most horrible crimes against victims who really were forgotten. And one of the most chilling things that Ridgway said to us as he confessed for 6 months, killing after murder, was that he chose these girls and young women because he didn't believe anybody would care. And that he could do it, and 3 days would go by, 3 weeks would go by, 3 months and 3 years. And he wasn't wrong. When I finished that case, I became involved in working on cases of sexual violence. So young women who were put in the commercial sex trade. I tried the first human trafficking case in the state of Washington. I ended up training lawyers across the United States on how to work those cases up. I prosecuted a gang who worked out of West Seattle. They called themselves the West Side Street Mob, and their primary focus was putting girls into prostitution. I prosecuted a guy named Brian Dublin over on Vashon Island. You might know this. He was a serial rapist. For a decade, he was preying on people in their homes, and it was police investigation that really turned that case. Then I became a judge, and I've been a judge for 13 years, and I've worn just about every hat you could wear as a trial judge. Now, the trial court is where sort of the rubber hits the road. You've got witnesses, you've got evidence, you've got juries. It's very different from the Court of Appeals. I've loved being a trial judge. I've been the chief criminal judge for King County, the chief family law judge. I am currently the lead judge up at Harborview Medical Center, where people who come because they present as a danger to themselves or others, we have hearings to decide whether they should be detained at hospital. I've held leadership positions as a judge for statewide issues, like getting more money for court interpreters. Like, this is an access to justice issue, and they are chronically underfunded in our smaller communities. I've led a task force to improve what we do for defendants who are awaiting trial. So I'll just give you a quick example. In King County, we issue hundreds of warrants because people forget to come to court. And one of the things I really want to do is, like, hey, my dentist is blowing up my phone regularly to come get my teeth cleaned. Why can't we do something like that to remind people to come to court? So I really focused on, hey, we should have money for a text message reminder program. And then the other leadership spot I've had, statewide at least, is courthouse security. We all see the irresponsible threats made against judicial officers. We see at courthouses dangerous situations. Half the courthouses in the state of Washington, the trial courts, don't have security. They don't have weapons screening at the front door. So that was one of the issues that I focused on. I think what I'm most proud of, though, is my work in King County is working on what's called our weapons surrender calendar. So our legislature has found that there is a nexus between guns and homicidal violence. And I see Lisa Manions here tonight. Her office has really been extraordinary in working to make sure that guns are out of the hands of people who have a domestic violence protection order, a stalking order, and like. And in my court, when all the other courts, don't want to overstate it. Most of the other courts in the state weren't holding compliance hearings, which is, have you actually turned over the guns? I said no, and working with the police's office, kept the doors open. And so hundreds, if not thousands of guns have been taken out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them. I also had a critical ruling on that case because there was a Second Amendment challenge to Washington's statute. I upheld the statute. And if that hadn't been, it was affirmed at the Court of Appeals. I think our landscape would have been much different if that hadn't happened. So in my career, in 25 years, I have tried to lead with consensus. And if, you know, we all have our web pages with the endorsements. I'm really proud of the endorsements I have in my race. Governor Gregoire has endorsed me. You recognize a few names from over here, Tim Burgess, Joe McDermott, and almost 200 judges from across the state of Washington have said they're supporting me in this campaign. I would be thrilled to have your support. I don't know if they allow for questions up here. I'll take the questions, I'll stick around, I'm happy to answer them. But really, I want to thank you for your time and for putting me in this position for the Washington State Supreme Court. And I'd love to be able to continue my career of public service in serving this state. I guess the one thing I didn't say is we have a big change coming to the Supreme Court. I think all of you know that, but there's going to be major turnover in the next on this ballot. So pay attention to the 5 seats on the ballot this next term. So thank you. I probably took too much time, but happy to answer your questions.
Next, we will into the Seattle Municipal Court race, Catherine Evans.
I'm a little shorter, so. So my name is Catherine Edwards, and I am running to be a Seattle Municipal Court judge in position 2. I'm also a West Seattleite. Really happy to be amongst you all. My son actually went to preschool in this building, so feels at home. But what I want you all to know is that when I was in the 8th grade, I walked into Seattle Municipal Court for the first time for a school project on public defense. It was called my Passion Project. And at that point, I watched attorneys stand up for people who had no one else in their corner. And something really clicked for me. I knew that that was the work that I wanted to do, and I was in the 8th grade. And that was about 30 years ago. And for the past 15, 16 years, I've been doing exactly that. I've been a public defender in King County, representing people during some of the hardest moments of their lives. And I've just really enjoyed the work. I have represented people charged with everything from misdemeanors to felonies to homicide cases. I have fought for children in the foster care system. As Judge O'Donnell referenced, I have worked with individuals who are being held involuntarily because of their acute psychiatric issues. In 2019, I co-counseled a homicide case where racism and police violence were at the very center of an unjust prosecution against our Black client, and we secured an acquittal for him. For the past 8 years, I've been a supervising attorney at the department, training a generation of young public defenders who have been practicing throughout King County and even throughout the country. I built our training curriculum from scratch because I believe that everyone, even those who cannot afford a lawyer, still deserve a damn good one. But here is what practicing in these courtrooms for the past 15 years has taught me. Most people who land in Seattle Municipal Court are there because so many other systems have failed them. Whether that's the foster care system, whether that's the healthcare system, or the broader weight of poverty, of racism, and of intergenerational trauma. There really are not meaningful safety nets catching people before they land in Seattle Municipal Court. Now, Seattle Municipal Court can't solve all these problems, but I do think that it can be a place that stops making it worse And right now, as a court, it is not living up to that responsibility. The law in SMC is applied unevenly, and what I mean by that is that people are held in jail on non-violent misdemeanor cases, while other courts give them the opportunity for rehabilitation, for treatments, and for services. Court mandated programs are not grounded in actual evidence, and the people who bear the brunt of these failures, the victims, the defendants, families, and entire communities are overwhelmingly already those hit the hardest. That to me is not accountability. That is a system that is losing trust and faith in everyone that it touches. So for me, real accountability is that the court does its part too. And what I mean by that is that the court offers programs that actually address root causes of behaviors and not just check a box. It means services that actually redirect people away from the criminal legal system. It does mean holding people to clear expectations, but also giving them a genuine path to meet them. And it means following through. It means tracking outcomes, using real data, and being honest about what works and what does not. And I do believe that my experience as a public defender is exactly what equips me to do this work. I have seen what has happened in the past 15 years when court programs fail and when they succeed. I know what interventions have an opportunity to change lives and which ones just, quite frankly, waste everyone's time. And I've worked with everyone in that courthouse, judges, prosecutors, public defenders, defense attorneys, service providers, probation officers, victims, and defendants. So I have an understanding of how the system all works together, but also how it doesn't. So if I'm elected as a judge, I promise I will ground every decision that I make in a fair and consistent application of our laws. I will make sure that both sides are heard fully, equally, and respectfully. But most importantly, I will never forget that everyone who stands before me, whether they're a victim, a witness, a family member, or the accused, is a whole person and not just a case number. I am running for an open seat. I'm currently unopposed. I am proud to be endorsed by Judge David Shadid, Judge Pooja Bandati, and many others who believe in repairing our municipal court system. And I would just be over the moon if you all would endorse me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Jason Skaya, representing District 8.
Okay, hey everybody, how are you? Good to see you. It's really exciting to be here. I just want to say thanks to the 34th. I gotta tell you, you guys have been turning out, whether it's in the street or in community forums, you have been there. Thanks to your chair, Jordan Crawley, for constantly showing up when called on. And as I was talking to Rachel walking in here today, this is the antidote to what we are seeing at the federal level, right? Every day, every headline, every minute is just chaos. And what the fascists want us to do is be fearful. What the authoritarians want us to do is hide and be scared. And the worst thing to challenge their playbook is to organize and step up and stick together and not turn against each other and not back down. So when I came in and I saw this table, I was like, this is how we fight back on the chaos that we're seeing at the federal level. And I just want to say thank you for being here so that we can be collectively working and organizing together. I'm so thankful to be back here in person with you and to be asking again for your endorsement for the 34th. I'm running for King County Council, District 8 again to serve for a 4-year term. I'm so thankful that we've been able to work together on so many things over the years, but specifically we have stayed constantly focused on housing, health, and human services. I'm the chair of Housing, Health, and Human Services. I continue to fight for investments in those 3 areas because we know these are the social determinants of health. While the federal government continues to cut our Medicaid and Medicare, while they rain down cuts on the continuum of care funding for permanent supportive housing and other housing services that allow for people and populations to stay healthy, we will fight back at the local level to make sure that there are investments, programs,
people and protections here locally. So with your support, I'll continue to focus on housing, health, and human services, meaning investments in workers. On housing specifically, this is how we make sure that people can stay healthy, right? Housing is not only a human right, but it is fundamental to having healthy individuals and healthy populations. On the King County Council, we have fought to expand the protections for access to housing under the comprehensive plan and coupled that with the parks levy. So not only are we creating density, but more green spaces around where more people can live. We did that in partnership with organizations and individuals out in White Center, as well as on Vashon and Murray Island, recognizing more of our community members are getting pushed further and further away from their places of employment and their community. Creating housing is also the bedrock to creating stability, economic stability, and health security. So we'll continue to do that. What I want to do in my next term is use use the county's line of credit and our debt capacity to actually build first-time home ownership opportunities and create more affordable units. And I mean 3 and 4 bedrooms so that more friends and neighbors can stay in community and stay with their collective family, and we can have intergenerational housing. In health, I want to thank former Representative Eileen Cody, who's in the house, 34th Elgin Justice, now representing us on the Harborview Medical Board. And our Harborview Medical Center is also in District 8, and serving as a board member, we've been working to fight to make sure that Harborview has the funding it needs, so as people lose access to their health care, they know that they have the county's health hospital to go to. And again, regardless of income, regardless of where you were born, Harborview will see you. We want to make sure that we're standing up and investing in that public entity and that public good, just as much as we want to make sure that our public health clinics and services there remain a safety net for community at large. As your Board of Health Chair, we've continued to stand up protections and reiterate to members of the public that we want everyone to know your public health systems, your public hospital, no matter where you come from, you have a place to go if you need care. So please don't self-select out and be fearful like Trump wants us to do, and know that your county is there for you. And lastly, on worker protection, thanks to Chris Lampkin, who is our Deputy Chief of Staff. Give it up, Chris, you can win. Ever lives in the neighborhood as well. Some of you may know him. Longtime labor leader as well with SEIU Healthcare 1199 Northwest. We have been laser focused throughout the last 10 years that I've been in office. Well, 10 years ago, I was standing here asking for your support, then, so I hope I get it again. But 9 years that we've been in office, we've been laser focused on lifting up workers, investing in worker protections. And this year is no different, but we're doubling down on our protections for immigrant workers as well. We've now passed 6 pieces of legislation in the last year to not only make sure that King County remains a welcoming county, but we do things like make sure that King County does not authorize any new permit for a detention facility. We will not allow ICE to come into our unincorporated areas and stand in our areas. Not only that, you said that no King County property, regardless of if you are in the city of Burien or Seattle or Tukwila, no matter where you're at in this county, no county property can be used for staging purposes, for setting up operational bases for ICE detention facilities. Not on our county property, not on our time, not on our watch. So we said ICE out, and we just passed that last week. And we continue to fight for worker protections and strong labor standards by making sure that our county has a responsible contracting policy, meaning you have to have actually commitments to investing in the wages and benefits and conditions of workers. And by the way, if you've had a labor violation in the last 3 years, that you've been found to have committed wage theft or labor violations from the state or the local Office of Labor Standards in Seattle, you don't get a contract with the county. If you have that on your history for the last 3 years, we want our public dollars to be going to the public good, and we've said no thank you on giving those dollars to folks who are trying to circumvent the law and circumvent the responsibility to pay workers. And oh, by the way, as a condition of receiving a contract with the county, not a single penny is allowed to go to ICE enforcement immigration. So those are some things that we've done on King County Council. With your support, I know I'm running a 3-year cycle right now. It's weird, but we're so thankful for all of you who advocated for the county to put us on even year cycles. We know the turnout's going to be good. With your support, this year hopefully we'll win a 4-year term. Thank you for all of your support, and please let us know how Chris and I can continue to advance housing, health, and worker protections with the 34th Downs.
And speaking with King County, we will have King County Prosecutor Attorney Lisa Manning.
Hello, everyone. It's really good to be here in my home district. I was so honored to earn the endorsement of the 34th LD in 2022. Thank you so much for placing your trust in me. Now, serving as your King County Prosecuting Attorney has been a personal and professional honor of my life. It is a privilege to wake up every day and to make a difference in our community for everyone who calls King County home. And I'm so happy to be able to share with you some of the successes we've had during my first term. And this is truly work that we've started to continue together. We have reduced gun violence in King County for 2 years in a row. Overall shots fired in King County are down 47%. But in South King County, shots fired are down 61%. And the end of 2025 saw a 61% reduction in the number of juvenile gun victims. Now, that doesn't mean that our work is done, but I know that we're onto something. And I attribute much of this success to a really innovative pilot project we started in South County with the 10th Police Department, Project Be Free, which is a domestic violence interruption organization, and Latino Civic Alliance. So with collaboration from 10th PD, our office identifies individuals who are close to gun violence, but they haven't committed crime, they haven't become victims of harm. And we offer services through these nonprofits. They work with young people from, teenage years up to age 25 and families. Latino Civic Alliance only takes Latinx families because they speak Spanish, every single person on their staff. And Project Be Free speaks 17 languages. And we're having great success. I want the opportunity to bring that to scale in all parts of King County. Another success that we have had, I, in 2024, did a full-blown salary survey in the office. I looked at the salary of every deputy prosecuting attorney in the office. And we right-sized the salary of 33 deputy prosecuting attorneys, all women, who were being underpaid. Women have a tendency to work part-time during some portion of their career, but they're not always given the opportunity to catch up economically. We fixed that, and we have committed to a 2-year salary study every single year, every 2 years, so that no one else is left behind. We also successfully fought the anti-DEI, anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, and anti-abortion directives that the Trump administration tried to put on appropriations by Congress. This means we protected more than $160 million in grant funds that the Trump administration tried to take away from King County. And instead, we've invested those dollars in affordable housing, public health, and transportation in all parts of King County. So to me, this is good governance. This is the type of work that I believe that our residents should expect of their elected officials. And so when I look to 2026 and beyond, these are my goals. We have to meaningfully address human trafficking. Not just the exploitation that is so visible in places like Highway 99, but also the trafficking that happens in illicit massage parlors and hidden brothels. We're about to launch some really interesting work on the civil side of things in my office, where we go after the commercial landlords in a voluntary way to get them to close their businesses. We're working with an organization called The Network. They've done this in other jurisdictions around the country and had great success, voluntary compliance. So I'll talk more about that when we launch. I am also committed to convincing our lawmakers that we have to have a new scheme to deal with people in crisis. I promised in 2022 to lead a statewide listening tour to learn more about our involuntary treatment at court, with the goal of building a system that is not adversarial, where right now I have prosecutors fighting for someone's treatment against their will, and I have public defenders fighting for that person's release off into the streets and nothing. I think we can do better. So this listening tour is about to wind up. I built a multidisciplinary team to help me. So we have NAMI, we have a public defender from Snohomish County, we have Disability Rights Washington at the table. We have someone with lived experience who's a direct service provider. We have the elected prosecutor in Washington County, and Steve Strand, executive director of the Washington Association of Police Chiefs and Sheriffs. And we together have completed this work, and our goal is to build a system that is therapeutic, where we have judges, prosecutors, service providers, public defenders, working together to get people the help they need as soon as possible, in the least restrictive means possible, before they become victims or perpetrators of harm. We'll be issuing that report later this summer, and we'll be sharing it with the community we serve. And of course, we are going to absolutely keep fighting the Trump administration, and I will use every legal means at my disposal to fight against its unlawful and illegal, unlawful, illegal overreach. So that's a little bit about what I've been up to. Again, thank you so much for your endorsement 2022. I'm honored to have your endorsement.
Property will be for the King County Assessor's race, first with Chris Roberts.
Good evening, Democrats. It's good to be back in the 34th, and it's good to see everyone here in person. I'm Chris Roberts. I'm a candidate for King County Assessor. I've also been on the Shoreline City Council for the last 16 plus years. I'm a member of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma and chair of the 32nd District Democrats. I'm running for assessor because we need good people we can trust in this office. This is a leadership position, someone who's going to make sure that we educate all of our residents about the tax system we have and also how people can stay in their homes. The two big things the assessor's office does is assesses everyone's property, and then it is the department that implements the property tax exemption programs. And so it's important that we go out as the office. It goes into the community, goes into labor halls, goes into senior centers, goes into American Legion halls and any other civic organization and talks to people about how to apply and how people can get the relief that they need from their property taxes. This is an important issue. This is a critical issue. The county has declared rightfully that we have a housing emergency. And we need to do everything we can and use every tool we can to help people stay in their homes. And one of those things is to make sure that we help people stay in their homes with the property tax exemption program. It's important that the assessor's office is forward facing, is out there in the community, helping people navigate through the application process, to have the funds and people in the office who are going to help answer the phone when people have questions, to help people navigate through and fill out the application process. This is something that the assessor's office needs to do. People should not be on hold for hours just trying to get basic information about how to file an appeal or how to fill out an application. People should not have to wait 12, 18 months to have their application for their property tax exemption approved. That's not right. When we have a challenge, especially with senior women who are the demographic that's seeing the greatest increase in the rate of homelessness, that's not right. We need to do what we can to help people now. And we need someone in this office who has a proven record of leadership to accomplish these things. I'm very proud of the work that I've done in the city of Shoreline and nationally and regionally. In Shoreline, I think if you look at us, we were a shining star, a shining city in King County in terms of our work on trying to build more housing for people, to help the people who are the most vulnerable in our community. We're standing up for our progressive values. That's what we've done in Shoreline, and that's what I will continue to do as King County Assessor. In terms of my work, I've been on the regional boards of the Sound Cities Association, which is our regional government of cities outside of King County. I've been on the board of the National League of Cities. I've worked closely with the Association of Washington Cities, and I've been on the board of the Puget Sound Regional Council. These are some of the things that I've done, and the leaders around me are supportive of my campaign. I'm very happy to have Teresa's endorsement for my campaign. I'm happy to have our executive's endorsement. I'm happy to have endorsements from nearly every city in the county, over 130 elected officials have endorsed my campaign. I'm very happy about them. And I guess I'll end with saying that if elected, I'd be the first person of indigenous descent to serve as a council member or an executive position within King County, and I would appreciate your support and your endorsement. Thank you very much.
We have Rob Foster.
Thanks, Drew. Good evening. I'm Rob Boxcar, and I'm running for King County Assessor. I grew up here. I am proud to say that I am a Seattle Public School graduate, where I spent 12 wonderful years before graduating from the University of Washington. My family still lives here. This is home. Now, whether you rent or own your home, costs keep rising, and property taxes are a part of that story. The King County Assessor's Office doesn't set your tax rate, but they do determine the value of your property and every property in this county. That plays a significant role in what you end up paying. That's why I'm running for this office. I'm not a politician. I'm a political newcomer, but I am an expert and a leader in this field. I currently serve as the City of Seattle's senior appraiser. I am the only candidate in this race who served the city as an appraiser, and also for the last decade plus have held my certified general real estate appraisal license. That's the highest within the industry. For the last 3 years, I also served on the King County Board of Appeals and Equalization. That is where folks go to get their property taxes appealed. On that board, I saw large corporate entities pay teams of experts to come in and get their property tax bills slashed. It's a remarkably unfair system. And I've sat at every seat at that table professionally. I know where the system works, and I know where it falls short. King County currently ranks near the bottom nationally in commercial property tax fairness. According to the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, specifically 51st out of 53rd, out of 53. When corporate entities can pay these experts to come and reduce their property taxes, that burden falls on your shoulders. We need an expert to come in and rebalance these scales in this system. My campaign has 3 core shifts that we are pushing for. First, modernized payments. I want monthly payment options to exist. It's normal in many other states. We don't do it here. Families should be able to plan and budget, especially those on fixed incomes. Second, I want to utilize the bully pulpit that this office affords and go down to Olympia and advocate for a universal homestead exemption. What does that mean for folks? It means that a portion of your primary residence, your home, will be tax exempt, saving you money on your property taxes and making housing in our region more affordable. I also believe that property taxes should be tied to income, so no one is taxed out of their community. Third, as was stated, yes, it is a well-known problem in this county that many seniors, veterans, and our neighbors with disabilities who already qualify for our existing exemption programs do not have proper access to it, do not know about it, and signing up for it has been a nightmare. We need to put the resources in place to properly ensure that folks know about those programs and can sign up for those programs, and that process happens efficiently and quickly, so folks aren't paying for a year plus. Today, my wife and I, we live on Beacon Hill where we're raising our daughter, who I'm really proud to say is a 6th generation Seattleite. Like a lot of families in this region, we really hope that this place can remain the place that we know and love, and a place where families can put down roots and stay. I'm Rob Boxcar, and I would sincerely appreciate your support.
Let's do another round of applause to all the candidates. Rebecca back up, this time with her PCO, we have,
All right, those are tough acts to follow as I look at that. Okay, tonight you're going to be appointing one new wonderful PCO, Jenny. Can you come wonderful up to the front? Thank you. As Jenny comes up here to the front, let me just plug again, if you're at all interested in becoming a PCO, please come talk to me. If your precinct is available or one nearby, we can have you appointed. And this is a very powerful tool for turning out the vote and educating your neighbors about the candidates. We've heard from so many wonderful candidates tonight. This is a real way to have an impact on our democracy. Jenny, hi. My question to you will just be to briefly introduce yourself and why you'd like to become a PCO.
Hi, Jenny Schultz. I am new to the 34th Dems. I joined about 4 months ago. I'm really excited to be here. And I want to be a PCO because I don't like the way things are heading. I just want to get up, start working, help out, meet my neighbors, make sure everyone votes, and get some work done.
All right, so now I will read the PCO oath, and after that I will ask for your confirmation that you are a Democrat. I am willing to serve as a Democratic Precinct Committee Officer or Acting Precinct Coordinator until November 30th, 2026. I understand that it is my responsibility to know the boundaries of my precinct and to be familiar with its residents and registered voters. I understand that my duties also include providing voters with campaign materials for endorsed candidates prior to the primary and general elections, get out the vote activities, and new voter registration. Before I make a motion to appoint, please answer, are you a Democrat?
I am.
Woo, great. Now, Jordan, I will take a motion. Is there a motion to appoint Jenny as a PCO?
I motion.
Wonderful, and a second? Wonderful, I said.
Yes, if you don't have an opponent, do you still have to file?
I will get to that in just a moment. But great, I saw the back head as a second. All those in favor to appoint Jenny, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Wonderful, welcome. And to the question that was just asked, that is getting down to, Okay. To the filing period for PCOs, which is on this screen, and there's a QR code, and don't worry, PCOs, I will also email this out. So, May 4th to 8th is filing week in King County to become an elected PCO, which many of you already are. You need to file with King County. It's a very easy form. It is also free 99, which is great. Candidates can't say the same. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to contact me. Again, this is to then be elected from essentially December 1st, 2026 to November 30th, 2028. The one thing, and just some asterisks on that, if you are an active PCO in a precinct other than the precinct where you live, you are not eligible to become an elected PCO. That's very few folks. If you are in that circumstance, I will email you separately, and the protocol would be we would have the opportunity to appoint you again come December. But for most folks, please fill out, please run. Do you need to file if you are unopposed? Yes, you still do need to file if you want to become an elected or still maintain being an elected PCO. You need to file again between the May 4th and May 8th period. All right, thank you.
Alright, for anyone who missed last month's meeting, we started the process of updating our organization's platform. So on the screen here, in the meeting packets in front of you, you will see these are our pillars in our platform, and then on the subsequent slides are the proposed amendments to our platform for 2026. So last month, the conversation led to eventually us tabling consideration of the platform to bring things back to the board, and with some feedback from specific amendments that folks would like to offer. So the board took it back up, brought forward some additional proposals for amendments, and that's what is up for consideration today. So we will take them one pillar at a time, and just run through these relatively quickly. So the first one, amendments to arts and culture. So these amendments are specifically around concerns regarding AI, use of AI in creative spaces, and making sure that we have protections available for human artists and offering our organization support for those protections and regulations. So is there a motion to adopt these proposed amendments?
I move to adopt these proposed amendments.
Who is this? Would you please state your name?
Marie White. And I could second that.
Okay, and then we will actually try this faster. Is there any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? Nice, we'll consider those adopted. Up next, we will move into elections and voting. So there was some feedback at last month's meeting that the language in the summary, the executive summary for this pillar, the use of the word sacred wasn't necessary. So the proposal was to strike the word sacred and then to add into this pillar the position that we support ranked choice voting as it results in the election of candidates who best reflect the values of their constituents, ensuring the most popular candidate wins. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
I move to adopt these amendments.
Is there a second?
Second. And then it was. Second.
Is there any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? Boom, we didn't see again. Okay, next up is environment, energy, climate, and climate action as our next pillar. These amendments, again, one is related to, or I guess a couple of them are related to the use of AI, the expansion of AI, and effects on the environment. Staking out positions that we will, that we consider AI proliferation to be harmful to the environment and climate goals, and that we should not support technological progress over environmental justice. And then the last one being that we support energy production being funded by public dollars being used to serve public good. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
I have a question, a clarification from our table. The second one, as you just said it, is clearer than the writing therein that maybe could be interpreted, including by some of our table, that we're saying the opposite of what we intend. That we're putting technological progress ahead of environmental justice.
Yeah.
Yes. Which way? What are we
Right.
trading for what?
Exactly.
Okay, so is there a motion to amend this language?
Yes, motion, I motion.
For a second. Okay. Is there a second to amend the language? Are you raising your hand a second, or
Martha, yeah,
are you raising your hand a second?
on
Motion?
the government and governments,
Martha.
we have a grammar issue.
Martha,
That should be, we have the right
Martha.
to know when and how we are interacting with AI.
Steve, said that again.
It's second.
Or people have a right to know how they are interacting with AI.
Oh, we're not to that one yet. We're on the environment, energy, and climate. Okay. Proposed new language.
Whatever you said when you
did I
described it.
I wasn't there, but
I have a suggestion if you
yeah, go ahead.
okay. So my suggestion would be, we should not sacrifice environmental justice for technological process.
Yeah.
Progress.
Progress.
All right. Now, is there any Anyone opposed, any objection to amending the language to read that we support that we should not sacrifice environmental justice for technological progress? Any objection? Great. Is there any objection to adopting these amendments now as also amended? Any objection? Great. Now for the government
Oh,
and
right.
governance.
Ah, right.
This one, all right. So Martha, you had a
Either people
Dramatically.
have the right to know, or we have the right to know how we.
It's been a big thing.
gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so simple grammatical fix is on the third bullet down. On the far right side of the screen, the word they, swapping in for we, just to make it consistent across the amendment. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments? This adds that we support the separation of church and state, and then the next three relate to regulation and governance around AI. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
Question,
Yes.
some of these bullets are written as sentences and others are just like phrases, like, is there like the first one? Is there a better way to state that than just a
So in the
preposition?
broader platform, the whole section leads with we support,
Oh, okay.
so these are meant to finish that sentence.
Oh,
Third, you're saying the third bullet point does not do
So it says we believe, sorry.
well, I was talking about the first bullet point, actually.
Yeah, so the whole section leads off with we believe. So it's, each one would be read as we
I
believe.
guess, thank you, for the consolidation.
Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
So,
Is there a second? Second. That was Nick.
Who's that?
Nick, but that's. Any objection to adopting these amendments?
With the grammatical
With the
correction, yeah.
grammatical correction, yes. Any objection to adopting the amendments? Any objection? All right, moving right along, we are into healthcare. So specifically, one of the amendments that was brought forward at the last meeting that the board approved for consideration tonight is that we believe one zip code should not determine one's health. Adding substance abuse disorder as part of our vision for comprehensive healthcare. And then the language here of adding that family caregivers and approved training and compensation for workers are essential to comprehensive healthcare as well. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
Second.
That was my lead in. Any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? All right. We can wait to do that. Next one, labor, commerce, and economics. This adds that we believe strong labor protections and collective bargaining rights must be preserved and protected as AI becomes more prevalent. Also, that we believe AI must not be used to undermine access to living wage employment and economic mobility. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
so moved.
Mary Lane, is there a second? Okay. And Eileen. Is there any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? All right. And next we have law, justice, and this would now be, if approved, and human and civil rights. And then adding these bullets to our adopted platform. At the last meeting, there was feedback that we needed stronger language in our platform around human rights, specifically around immigration issues. So that's what these bullets are meant to bring to the table. So we believe that due process is foundational to justice and must apply to all persons. That in prioritizing mass amnesty and streamlining immigration proceedings. Or that third country deportations are immoral and should be prohibited. In supporting policies promoting sanctuary states, counties, and cities. We believe trans rights are human rights. We believe protections against AI must be strengthened to preserve our civil rights. and in auditing algorithmic decision making for bias and disparate impact. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
So moved.
Second. Who made the motion?
Great.
Yeah.
No.
Roll call.
Any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? All right, and I believe this is our last one, on transportation and utilities. This clarifies some language specifying that it's access to transportation and utilities, that is a basic right. That transportation, and then affirming that transportation access is a right. That rural and urban areas deserve equitable transit investments, not equal. And finally, that transit investment should align with community values and priorities. Is there a motion to adopt these amendments?
So moved.
Mary White, is there a second?
Second.
Miss that? Any objection?
Oh, I just want to say, crossing out human, that you're saying that, helping animals have the transportation right too, is that the idea there, or?
Yeah.
Just wondering.
It was just making it more of a general right than specifying. Okay, any objection to adopting these amendments? Any objection? Okay. Now for the really fun conversation. Budget. So this was mentioned earlier by our treasurer Rebecca. So we are now, it being in April at the end of our 2025 fiscal year. So we have to adopt a budget for the next fiscal year, which will start on May 1st. How this process went was that I, as the chair, brought forward a proposed budget. It went through an ad hoc budget committee, which met a couple times to discuss proposed changes to that initial budget. And then it went through approval by the executive board for consideration by our general manager. So that's the short version of how we got here. Where we've ended up is this final budget, which is printed out in the packets in front of you. And really, so the main things is that we expect, which was also addressed earlier, a $25,000 carryover from this fiscal year into the next. That we expect another $36.3 thousand in new revenue, which is consistent with previous given years. And about 90% of that comes from membership dues and our annual fundraiser. On the expense side, our largest expense categories are forecasted to be elections, operating expenses, and then membership meetings. The elections and campaign section includes all of our walk pieces for canvassing efforts, but also financial contributions to endorsed campaigns. On the operating side, those are the things that are essential baseline cost for the organization. So there are things like the software that we need to run the organization, bank and credit card fees, and then compliance related expenses. And that third category of membership meetings is the cost of having in-person meetings throughout the year. So with our updated schedule, the ones that we have remaining this calendar year are May, October, and November. And then this budget would cover up to 3 in-person membership meetings in the new year. As far as the operating reserve, we tend to average about $5,000 per month of expenses, with the majority spent in the second half of each calendar year. So what this does at the recommendation of our treasurer is this budget accounts for 2 months of operating expenses retained in the bank, so that we can address any emergency expenses. And the result is our total proposed budget for the 2026 fiscal year total $61,300, and of that we would spend about $40,600, retaining $10,000 in reserve and ending with a net of about $10,700. I think it's specifically 16. For a total end of year carryover of $20,700. On in-person meetings, each in-person membership meeting is costing us about $1,200. So even going across the street to the church, where we were quite a bit last year and the two years prior to that, it would cost us about $800 to $900 per week. So with the three in-person meetings that we have scheduled for the end of this fiscal year, we're talking about quite a bit of money for in-person meetings. So the question that I'll pose to all of you is whether or not having in-person meetings is worth it fiscally. So I understand that I'm asking that to an in-person audience. But as we go through the consideration of this budget, it's an important question to think about. Do we amend the line item for membership meetings to account for fewer in-person meetings? And then take that money and either retain it as savings, take it into the next fiscal year, or spend it on a different project that we have going on, like endorse candidate campaigns. So I'm the chair, so I'm supposed to be impartial. I will not be making a motion, but if there are, actually, let's first, is there a motion to adopt the budget as proposed for the fiscal year 2026?
Is that different from the question?
We have to get so we have to get the motion for the full budget on the table for.
So moved.
Thanks, Chris. Is there a second? Okay, I got the 10. All right. Are there any motions for amendments to this budget?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does this budget include the ongoing in-person meetings?
Yeah, so the question was, does the budget include ongoing in-person meetings? Yes. So I think it's $6,600 in there.
Okay.
Accounts for the 3 remaining in-person meetings in this calendar year, as well as any in-person meetings between January 1st and end of April next.
So this is for the next, 6,600 for the whole year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the fiscal year starting May 1st. Are there any motions for amendments to this budget?
Well, I have a question.
Question?
So my question is, we, as a board, had some very lengthy and in-depth discussions about where, if we were to have in-person meetings, because it seems like some people really are wanting to meet in person, and I totally understand why. If there should be a question that maybe, again, the membership can weigh in on, if we want to have all of our in-person meetings here in light of the fact that the cost is very high to meet here. And is that what we would like to do, or entertain the idea of meeting at a location that isn't as expensive, where we could still meet in person, but it wouldn't cost as much? So my question is that something we want to entertain as a body right now?
Short answer is not really. So we've, over the last 3 or 4 years, every year we come back to the table to try to find more affordable in-person meeting options. And we discussed this a little bit as our board, really for the last 6 months, to weigh the benefits of being close in proximity to the majority of our members who come to in-person meetings, accounting for the fact that a good chunk of people come from Ashland Island, but also financial affordability, like how much it costs to have those spaces, and then accessibility concerns. So in terms of like physical access to the space. So there's a handful of locations that we've used over the years that ended up in our conversation about where to have in-person meetings. And it was here across the street at Fellowship Hall at Botwood Church. And then the third that was really in the mix of those conversations was the International Aerospace Machinist Hall down in South Park. So we had one that was free to us, but was all the way down in South Park. And we had a significant drop off in attendance. And then we had the one that was across the street at Fellowship Hall, which last year was about $350 per meeting. This year, what changed is they increased their rental rate and added the requirement for event insurance for every meeting. And we reached out to the company that the state party uses And adding the costs of event insurance would have brought the total up to $800 to $900 per meeting to have meetings across the street. So we were down to, we wanted to be close in proximity to the majority of our members who attend in-person meetings. We were down to here and across the street, and the difference was a matter of $200 to $300 per meeting. So that's where all the conversations led. We've really gone through a thorough process in considering what other venues there are in our district, and there's just not a ton of affordable options. So that's why the question of the day is, does it make sense to continue having as many in-person meetings, given the fact that doing in-person meetings is pretty expensive? So, third time, is there a motion to amend the budget?
Teresa.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a question, is it possible to have like, the full board look at options in the next few weeks or something? I think where you posted that sound transit conversations a year and a half ago, the senior center, I don't know if that's an option, DNDA.
Yeah, so haven't talked extensively with DNDA. Their hourly rate was, I think the classic check was pretty close to across the street. But I can follow up with them. So what we can do is we can adopt this budget. And then we as a board can look at lower cost options again and try to find lower cost, because we can spend less than we are budgeting for. But the real question of like, do we even plan in-person meetings to begin with, was what I wanted to kind of gauge people's feelings about. So if we want to continue having in-person meetings, have it with me as chair, be the next 3. So next month, and then again in October, and then our holiday party in November. We can continue forward with the budget that accounts for those 3 meetings, and then try to find more cost-effective options.
I move we adopt the budget if we continue having in-person meetings.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the budget. I just wanted to give people ample opportunity to offer amendments if they have it. So if there are none, is there?
Can I offer
Offer.
a, whatever we're calling it here? So my question is do folks think, is it worth it, rather than just saying, should we have in-person meetings or should we not have in-person meetings here? Is the option of having in-person meetings across the street, does that make it financially more enticing, since it is a few $100s per meeting less? And then we say, we have the meetings, we can have them in person, and we can pay a little less, so we have those extra multi-$100s in our budget for the year.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, we can adopt this budget, and then we as a board can go back to the table and look for more cost-effective options, because we can spend less than that budget. So
I just didn't know if they need to vote, yes, do that, or we don't care, or what.
Is there anyone opposed to that plan?
No.
Great, okay. Is there any objection to adopting the budget with all of that in mind? Any objection? Great. Now the actual is part of our meeting, so.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Who made the motion of this thing?
We had. Chris Nankin made the motion,
Okay,
and then the guy tagged down here.
right. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, so to close our meeting, we have with us tonight the Director of King County Elections, Judy Weiss.
How many things can I hold about the?
I have 2 hands. No, like assistants.
Very, I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. It's a true story. My name is Julie Wise. I'm your elected director of elections. And I really appreciate the opportunity and the invite to be here with you all tonight. There's nothing in the news about elections these days. So there's nothing to talk about. This will just be a short little discussion, I'm sure. All kidding aside, I use humor, because in times like these, it's better to laugh than cry. So my plan for tonight is that I've been going out to the community and having lots of conversation, and I prefer that style, right? Conversations, because I want to make sure that you leave tonight with your questions answered, rather than my preset presentation of what I want to tell you. So I've got about 7 slides, but I'm gonna cruise through those super fast, because again, I want to engage in a conversation with you all. I think during this time, I hope that I will remember to leave you with hope. And I'm gonna start you off with hope, okay? So I am an elected official, so I'll be talking about myself a little bit. I have been doing elections. I have been an election administrator for 26 years. I fell in love with working at King County elections back in 2000 during the presidential election and just got hooked. I could see then that there was ways that we of course could innovate elections and make it more accessible, but I also really loved the process component of it. And of course, as you can imagine, it attracts the most amazing people to work there. And tonight I'm joined by William Cavetti, who is our policy and research analyst. That is a fancy title for does all the things. So he does legislative for us. Right now, he is the program manager, because we will be implementing ranked choice voting in the city of Seattle next year. So Will does a ton of different things. I'm so grateful that you're here with me tonight, friend. So what I want to start off with, I hope, is that this is a dedicated group of election administrators who are passionate about their job. And we ran the most highest voter turnout, 87% turnout presidential election in the middle of a global pandemic, okay? This is a crew that is well poised to have anything be thrown their way and be able to handle it and manage it. So what I want you all to know is that we are trained Washington State nationally certified election administrators, and we are ready to go. Bring the challenge on, we're here for it. And even again, if we go back, I know it's painful, but if we go back to 2020, we had a lot of news about vote by mail, right? We had a lot of trash talk about its accuracy and security and questions about the United States Postal Service. It's deja vu, right? So remember, we did it before, and we'll do it again. So that's the hope I want you all to start off with. Yes, I'm doing this too. Yes, okay. So before we dive in deep to all of the nitty-gritty, right, executive orders and the SAVE Act, right? Let's talk first a little bit about what this year is going to look like. We already heard candidate filing is right around the corner. May 4th through May 8th, majority of people are going to do that online. Right around the corner is summer. We feel it in the last few days with the sunshine, right? And that's going to be on August 4th. And of course, ballots are going to start heading out the door here a little bit later this summer. And then our November election is on November 3rd. And it's back up. For the primary, we're looking at 45% turnout. Boo. We can be better, we can do better than that. But that is based off of what we have historically seen people show up in midterm elections, okay? But there's a lot of national news. Could that change it? We've got King County races now on the ballot during an even year. Could that change it, right? So there's that at play. We are looking at a 75% turnout in this November election for a midterm. Y'all, that's huge, first of all. We have the highest voter turnout in the nation, along with guess who else? The other vote by mail states. Oregon, Colorado, right? And why is that? Accessibility. You show up where the voters are at, right? So we're looking at some really high numbers for this year, for sure. Let's see what else I want to talk about here. We don't have an April special election. That's unusual for King County. We usually do, so don't be looking in your mailbox for a ballot at least. It's not gonna happen. No of the 191 jurisdictions we run elections for filed a resolution to place a ballot measure, so there'll be no April special election. That just gives us more time to get ready and prepared for the primary election, right? So let's talk a little bit, and again, I want to be really quick here because I want to make a lot of time for answering questions. Vote by mail elections are accurate and secure, period. Period. Again, I've been an election administrator for 26 years. 10 of those years running polling place based elections, and the last 16 years running vote by mail elections. I have seen it with my own eyes, folks, and that's why you see more and more states coming on to vote by mail. Not only is it easier for their voters, but it's also more accurate. You can reconcile to every single ballot. Instead of 500 polling places where you've had the opportunity to train poll workers for 4 hours and 8,000 of them, you have Washington State certified election administrators who are trained up on this and who are ready to go and who are conducting 4 elections a year. And we're doing it all in one location at our Renton headquarters, right? Plug for Renton headquarters, we have a state-of-the-art facility that was given to us really by our King County Council. They recognized the need to have one place, 100,000 square feet, where we are conducting elections. The security was done by someone who does casino security. Ballots are just as valuable as money, right? And so the amount of security and the levels of security that we have at that office is learning. And literally I could spend 3 hours, I was told only an hour, like 2 more. I could spend hours just talking about the level of security. And we're gonna talk a little bit about, I think actually I can do it right here, is observing is a great opportunity. That's another reason why vote by mail is so secure. Instead of spread out to 500 polling places, you can have observers right there at the elections headquarters, which we strongly encourage, and we have a very active, engaged observer program with, of course, the King County Democratic Party. So check in with your folks if you're not an observer. We'd love to see you in Renton at our headquarters. Seeing it in motion, being able to physically see all of the steps happen is like a light bulb over your head. It really truly is. And then you can speak to it in your community about all the processes when people are like, what about those signatures? That doesn't make any sense, right? You can really be able to speak to it. And of course, we have a robust observer program with the Republican Party, as well as the League of Women Voters for nonpartisan observers. In fact, that's a national award-winning program that we have that's really important. But we believe in what we call radical transparency. So you don't even have to be an observer to come into King County elections. We have a 1/5 of a mile loop with a plexiglass wall that you can literally watch the entire election process at play. If you don't want to make it down to Renton or can't, that's okay. We also live stream it on web cameras on our website so you can see each process. We again want and understand that when a voter puts their ballot into a mailbox or to one of those drop boxes, what happens next to it, right? It's like magic. We'll go to where the sausage is made, right? You guys remember those, like Mr. Rogers, right? It's so cool to go and see it. So really strongly encourage folks to do that. Our drop boxes, folks. We have 86 today. Before the primary, we'll have up 92 some drop boxes across King County. Now that means there's about a 3-mile distance for 90% plus voters with within a drop box distance, right? And then of course in the city of Seattle or urban dense areas, that's more like a mile for 80% of voters. We strongly encourage folks to use those drop boxes. They are steel tanks, folks. They weigh in at 1,000 pounds. They're made at a company called Vote Armor, genius naming convention, just down in Puyallup. Those are the same boxes that you will see across this country and you probably maybe saw in the news, Multnomah County. Someone tried to blow theirs up, right? Unsuccessful. Those ballots were still countable, right? They have fire suppression actually in the drop box itself. They are cemented into the ground 8 inches deep with 4-inch wide screws. Funny story, I mean funny to me now, after the fact, later, is that we hosted a bunch of students to come and get a tour of the elections facility and the poor bus driver didn't take the corner all the way and ran into our drop box at our Renton headquarters. You guys, that box did not move, not a scratch, not a dent. That bus was messed up though. I mean, it was like, no kids were involved, everyone was safe, the kids were out, but these are still cakes, and so we've had people try to put chains around them and pull them out with their trucks, it doesn't happen. So we really strongly encourage folks to use those drop boxes, and they open as soon as ballots come out. Another fun fact about 2020 is, was it 300,000 voters that showed up the first weekend after ballots went out in 2020? Vote early. Why not? Why stress out, make it happen, later and make months. Another thing I want to talk really quickly, audits. We are in the auditing business. People talking about audits like it's a new thing. We've been doing that for a long time. We do a manual hand recount of a percentage of the ballots during every single election. We audit the systems before, during, and after every single election, and those are public, there's observers there, the media is there, right? So this is all being audited across the whole entire thing, and we're reconciling to the ballot every single day, knowing exactly where each and every ballot is in the step and in the process. I said I wasn't gonna talk too much, then I get excited about elections. We can talk a little bit about, I forgot to do this, guys. We can talk a little bit about physical and cybersecurity and trying to hit on it. Our tabulation system is not connected to the internet in any way, shape, or form. If you come and see a tour, you come and observe, you'd be able to physically see that. Let's see. We are busy preparing for all scenarios. Will and I just got off of a call at like 4 o'clock this evening of the whole entire team talking through a genius new executive order of the ballots would be going through a citizenship check and USPS would, we were talking about Watson versus RNC. And Watson versus RNC is the case in the Supreme Court in Mississippi that talks about when the ballots are actually due to be counted. So right now, in Washington State and about by many states, is that as long as you get the all-important election day postmark, if it's received after that, it's still counted because it was in on time, just like your taxes, right? So we were discussing different scenarios of what that would look like if in fact it does fail, meaning that here in Washington State, we would have to have ballots in hand on election day. And any of the ones that were received postmarked on time and received after would not be able to be counted. You're talking about 30,000 some voters in King County based off of historical data that ballots wouldn't be able to be counted, right? So our team is talking through about all of the ways that we would get that communication out to folks to make sure we don't have as many folks that are gonna be disenfranchised. I'm gonna probably, let's see, we're at 8:36, I just want to leave so much time for us to, I'm gonna skip through here a little bit. Use a Dropbox, every single ballot counts. Let's go forward. I love this slide, this is what we all want, right? But what can I do? Like, what can I do about it? You are all empowered to be great messengers in your community, you already do that, right? I see that, I get that. What we need from folks right now is making sure that they're registered to vote, making sure that they're at the right address, making sure that we have the right mailing address for their ballot to go to, and make a vote plan. I know it sounds silly, but literally pull out your cell phones. When are you gonna have your ballot voted by? Are you gonna meet friends at a coffee shop, at the brewery, at your kitchen table? When are you gonna vote? You're gonna get all your materials together, right? Your voter pamphlets, maybe all those mailers that you're gonna get from candidates, you're gonna get it all laid out and ready to go. What Dropbox are you gonna use? What day are you gonna use that? Get a plan together. It's not up here, but I think what's really important and going back to is encouraging, you all are engaged, you guys are all waiting for your ballot, making sure all of this happens, is encouraging. I don't think it's bothering or annoying, it could be, and that's okay too. Friends, family, neighbors, helping them make sure that they've also got a vote plan, that they're also getting registered to vote, that they're getting their questions answered now. So I'm gonna jump through to. Oh, I have to do this club. You guys can come work for us. That's super fun, I'm serious. I started as a temporary employee at King County Elections, that's how about 70% of the full-time permanent staff started as temporary employees. Warning, you may fall in love with elections, okay? And elections administration, and that's okay. So but in all seriousness, we pay pretty good, these are union jobs, and they can last from 2 days to 2 weeks to a month. We need help going out and making sure that we're gonna get all those ballots collected out of the drop box, that we're answering phone calls from our voters, that we're doing signature verification. That's right, all us humans do signature verification, we're trained by Washington State Patrol, and you can actually see the similarities and characteristics in a signature. Quite fascinating work. So anyways, seriously, if you or someone you know is looking for some work, what you do is you just take leave from your job, that's what you do, and then you come work for us too. It's double, right? Get your vacation time and, okay, all seriousness aside, let's jump to the last important slide here, contact information. I mean this with all seriousness, human beings answer the phone. There's not a menu, there's not pushing buttons, right? Human beings are there who want to answer your questions. We want to be able to help and assist. Give us a call, 296-VOTE. That's a cool number, right? But these are great ways for you to contact us. And of course, we provide election materials in many different languages. But with that, I'm gonna pause and take a breath here. I know we've got 20 minutes. Do folks want to dive into certain executive orders? Do folks have security questions? Hit me up with the hard ones. Here we go. Steve, looking at you, no? Yes, please.
What is the number to call if you see something suspicious or concerning at a Dropbox in November? Is it that number or?
It is. So the question was, if you see anything suspicious or weird happening, like a Dropbox or anything like that, who should you contact? You should definitely contact us. You can do it, I know this seems a little bit weird, you can even tag it on social media. We're watching social media constantly, and people are like, well, you want to advertise that? Yeah, that's okay. So social media is often how we find some things are, you know, a line, or maybe the ballot got shoved in the ballot box weird, and so it's not allowing people to put more in, so it looks like it's full. But yeah, you can, any of those, you can hit us up on our social media. You can give us a call, you can email us, we'd love to know that information, so we would really appreciate it. Absolutely. And I think just in general, too, we'll just briefly kind of use that as a segue to that, you know, we're prepared for nonsense, right? And so I want you to know that one of the things I do is regularly meet with law enforcement. So we're meeting with all levels of law enforcement, this is a regular thing. In fact, my department was the first back in the day to ask the Department of Homeland Security to do a physical security audit of our building as well as a cyber security audit. They didn't have anyone else to compare us to, so they compared us to nuclear things, but it was really, it's really important for us to work with those law enforcement. But this is a twist this year, right? Normally, we've had federal agents be partners in information sharing, right? It's always been the approach of federal law enforcement to not even appear to be interfering with our elections, right? So they will provide intel, right? What they're hearing, what they're seeing around cybersecurity concerns, what bad actors, what countries, what are we looking out for, right? We've always had that. And then of course, King County Sheriff's Office. And then we are housed in Renton, but we have drop boxes in all 39 cities across King County. So we have a really great partnership with our law enforcement to make sure that we are regularly having them drive by drop boxes or our vote centers. Here's a plug. Can you vote in person in King County? You guys are looking at, okay, yeah. 7 vote centers from Kenmore to Kent. You can come in person, one-stop shop. It's not legally required, but we believe that it's important for people, for us to show up for voters however they want to show up. And if that's in person, cool. You can register to vote, because we got same day voter registration, so all the way up to election day. You can update your address, get your ballot, voter's pamphlet, vote right there. And given I voted singer, it was really fun. We got one in Seattle, of course, at CenturyLink?
Lumen.
Oh gosh, okay, yeah, I was like, it's safe, no, okay, Lumen, thank you, at Lumen Event Center, appreciate that. So you can turn out there, but so we work really closely with more enforcement, thank you for that question, I think I saw another hand.
I was just wondering, is there anything that says we can't deliver, like the household's ballots in one batch to a ballot box?
Oh, yeah, I think we call it like ballot collection or ballot harvesting, they like to throw some weird terminology around it. I think if I understand your question correctly, is that can I be a good friend and neighbor and bring in other people's ballots to a drop box? Absolutely. Totally legal here in Washington State. So yes, you can do that. Now, my story is I love my mom, but I wouldn't trust her with my ballot. She's well intended, a little bit disorganized, and I would be traumatized. I have a perfect voting record, I know that's shocking to you all, since I was 18. So if she forgot to deliver it for me accidentally, good intended, I would lose, yeah, it would be a problem. So do I encourage folks to do that? Not necessarily, but absolutely you can. And if I would be very honest with you, I have done that for other people that I've asked them to, because I work at a Dropbox, right? So, yes, absolutely you can do that. Yes, please.
You mentioned how the feds are being a little squirrely, and I can imagine scenarios like ICE showing up at collection boxes.
Yep.
Or the feds showing up after elections and saying, we wanna take all the ballots away.
Yes.
I assume these are examples of things that you're preparing for?
That's exactly right. Thank you so much for that question. The question I don't know if you all heard, right, is what about the concern of federal interference with ICE showing up at drop boxes, the feds coming in like Georgia, right? And taking all the ballots, physical ballots, right? So, of course, again, we're working with all of our local law enforcement partners, working with the prosecuting attorney's office to be proactive and to be prepared. I wake up every single day and am so thankful that I get to do this work. I love this career, I love this work of elections in King County and in Washington State. Because y'all, between the executive and our council members and our Secretary of State and our Attorney General, we are strongly supported in safeguarding our democracy. We're all on the same page as the foundation of this country, and we're all here to protect it. So we are doing things like, doubling down sort of ordinances about where federal agents are allowed to be, right? We saw that from the executive. And we are gonna be prepared for that. We're working again with our law enforcement for plain clothes and security clothes, or whatever the word is when they're in their actual gear, at drop boxes, doing drive-by, at vote centers. We'd be listening to any voters that let us know, and we'll be on it, absolutely. There is a law, and that's one of the things that we're doing too, is educating all of the law enforcement across Washington State. Is that there's an electioneering law, and that can't be within 25 feet of the drop box or 100 feet of a vote center. So it's definitely scary, it's definitely worrisome, but we are proactively preparing for it, and we will be prepared if anything comes up as well. The coming in and taking the ballot, we have also talked about that, is if we would, that building's on lockdown. How do they get into those areas? How would we be able to stop that? I would also say too that in King County and Washington State, we're scanning the ballots in immediately. So as soon as we're receiving ballots, they're being scanned into our tabulation system. Of course, they can't count it, or push the magic button, if you will, until 8 p.m. on election night to actually get the results. But those ballots are being scanned and imaged in as soon as we receive them as well. Yes, sir.
Do you do outreach to students who are going abroad for the semester? I work for Democrats abroad, and it's a source of a lot of potential voters who don't know that they can vote, even if they're just abroad for 3 months.
That is such a great question. So the question around is, do we do specifically voter education and outreach for students that are going to be abroad? I'm going to bring that back to our outreach coordinator. We do have a nationally award-winning program of internships that are actual high school and college students that have helped us in many different ways, including just this last year going to 80 different schools to talk peer to peer, right? Because that's how we really engage a lot of our voter outreach and education, is that we've got staff that speak the different languages and are going out and doing that community engagement. And so we've got high schoolers and actually going into the school and having those conversations. But I'll make sure that we're specifically looking if there's a way that we can actually get contact information for students abroad. I think it's really important for folks to know that the military and overseas voters, and we have 30,000 of them registered in King County alone, can access their ballot electronically and return it by email as well. Because we know that mail system can take quite a long time. So thank you for that. We'll take that back to the team and make sure that we're specifically doing outreach on that. Unless you had. Sorry, any question?
Yeah, you mentioned you're practically thinking about things you need. Is there anything that you need from the city, from the county, how many electives that you would love people to advocate for?
I so appreciate that. Can I come back with my legislative priorities? You know, okay, and yes. I had, usually Will's like, yes. We have really great legislative ideas. Is that helpful if we say it? It must be so. We think we have really great legislative ideas, so I would love that. What I will tell you is that every single time some executive order or lawsuit happens, these King County council members and executive are calling me, what do you need? How can I help? Where do you need us at? So I feel really supported at this point. There's not an ask that I have currently, except for the I voted sticker, which I understand in these economic times, it's probably not a major. But I like to joke a lot and tease. But in all seriousness, no, we feel really super supported. Again, we're gonna be adding 6 or 7 drop boxes. I think that's critically important, right? When we talk about compromising the mail, right? You come out, and that's the whole idea, right, of doing an executive order. It's to stoke fear, right? To say, for the states that mail out ballots, we're gonna have the United States Postal Service compare those ballots and those names and addresses to a list of folks that are citizens, and we're not gonna deliver ones that are addressed to folks that are not citizens. There's not that list, okay, first of all, and we all know, I love the United States Postal Service, but they do not have the capacity to be able to do that, right? One of the things during COVID we looked at is there another way for us to be able to deliver ballots? Right? Another plan B, like we always have many plans, right? Is that you can access your ballot online. If you don't get it, you can access your ballot online. You have to do a little bit of an arts and crafts project when you print it out and all that sort of stuff. But that still is a really great safeguard that we've used during major snowstorms, right? So I think that there's different options there that we have for voters if there's any situation or issue. But of course, you all know, I'm sure, like, he does not have the authority to do that. He does not have the authority to do a lot of things he does, I get that. But he does not have the authority to do that, and it's already being litigated. And what was the other thing I wanted to make on that point? Ballot alerts. Anyone signed up to get ballot alerts? Yes, I feel like this is the crowd. Okay. For you that have not heard of it, sign up for ballot alerts. What this does is we will text you when your ballot is on its way to you and gonna be in your mailbox in the next couple of days. Not only is this just good customer service, this is security as well, right? Now I know that I need to check in my mailbox, elections has sent me my ballot. The minute you send your ballot back to us and it gets in our hands, you get a text notification, King County Elections has your ballot. When we complete your signature verification, one more text to say we verified your signature, ballot's gonna be counted. And if you haven't voted, we'll send you a friendly text reminder a week before election day and say, where is your ballot? Return it. And I know it sounds a little bit of obnoxious, right? You're like, oh, more text, we're gonna get like scam, whatever. But you guys, this is a proven thing. They started it in California, and that's another thing we do as election administrators. We talk and coordinate across this country what are you doing? We're working with folks like Public Rights Project, right? To sue the administration over different things, to be proactive in this whole entire, conversation around vote by mail. And so I think that, that's, I lost my train of thought. Okay, there was other questions, I get sidetracked.
I am just personally kind of concerned about the whole idea that the federal government is coming into states and asking them for their lists, their voter rolls. So it's a two-part question. The first part is that something that Washington should be worried about? Is that a viable threat that is actually happening? And then the second part is what do you just say no? Like, what is the process to resist and fight back to prevent that from happening?
Right, so the question is around how do we, safeguard voter rolls and voter registration information? Well, for one, I think it's important for folks to know that voter data is public data, right? But there's only a portion of it that is public, right? And I think that there's an important aspect of that, right? Which is that, there is a method where voters can challenge another voter if they don't think they in fact live at that address, right? We see that usually more in the candidate filing kind of area of like, they filed in Skycomish, but they don't really live there full-time thing. But, so I think there's an important part of that public record. But what's being asked and sought for is certainly an overreach of that. And our Secretary of State has been very strong in his stance that he is not providing that list, we're not providing that data, we're not providing that information. Was there legislation about that too, Will?
Yes, there was legislation sponsored by the Secretary of State's office to ensure that counties are getting
Or not?
Or not.
Yeah.
And that passed, so that's law. So we would never do that in King County, but can we be certain about the other 38 counties? Now there's a law that says they cannot. So, and we're not providing that data, the Secretary of State's not providing that data, so feel very confident in Washington State's stance on that for sure.
Yes, please.
I know based off of your previous comment that it sounded like you're fairly confident that the federal government cannot abrogate the right for mail-in voting, but in a hypothetical nightmare scenario, which I don't know how to predict things that would happen, would there be the capability of elections to be held in person again? Is there the capacity for that? Like assuming that there's just no possible way to do mail-in voting whatsoever.
So the scenario would be that there was no way for us to get ballots mailed out to the United States Postal Service to voters. Is the scenario?
Probably, or that for whatever reason, like even receiving those will also be terminated by USPS for so long and so forth. I think it's been threatened loosely. I'm not the best at things.
Yeah, I mean, again, we go back to that, the Constitution is very clear that the states determine the manner, time, and place of elections. So that will be our continued stance. And Washington State's still running elections, we're still following the law. And so we're gonna still conduct that election, and that's what our Secretary has said, our Attorney General, auditors, I'm part of the Auditor Association, that's what they call the folks that do my job and the rest of the counties, we're all on the same page, we're still running elections here, folks. And I believe our partners at the United States Postal Service would deliver ballots. But again, when we back up to 2020, right, we thought the same thing, what if there's an issue with mail, right, there's not the ability to mail ballots. We have looked at private carrier services for delivering ballots. Go back again to that, you can access your ballot online and print it out, and you can print out also that important oath and sign it, and then we would still use our drop boxes, right? We're gonna have 92 coming up before this primary election, so people would have good access. And again, we do have those vote centers. Will, please correct me if I'm wrong, I wanna say in the last sort of major election, did we see 15,000 to 20,000 folks go to our vote centers?
That sounds right.
So again, 7 vote centers from Kenmore to Kent were able to process 15,000 to 20,000 voters. I recognize that we have 1.4 million registered voters. If we're looking at a 75% turnout, I am good at math, but maybe just not on the spot. Let's call it 1.2, just for fun. I recognize that that's a lot more people Could we stand up more vote centers? I believe we can. I believe this office literally can do anything, and we have done that. We've implemented legislation time after time, implemented same-day voter registration, opening up vote centers. We used to have 500 polling places, and many of the staff there, you either fall in love with elections and you're there for life, like me, 26 years later. A lot of us have run that, so I believe we have the ability to do just about anything. I'm gonna do a time check on myself, 8:58. Jordan, is that 2 more minutes? Yes.
Can do two, I'll do one and see if anyone else has a question. How insecure, this is great, I'm so reassured. How are things in the rest of the country and what are your concerns?
Yeah, such a great question. What about the rest of the country, right? We get that a lot. Like, I trust you all, but like, what is everyone else doing? I'll tell you, Will and I both are part of a national organization that's called the Election Center. And these are college accredited courses. You might be surprised, out of Auburn, Alabama, Auburn University. And I will tell you that election administrators across this country, large majority of them are absolutely passionate about what they do. I have been to Florida, I have been to Arizona, I have been all over, I have been to Boston, and I have seen election administrators, and they are diehard believers in democracy and doing their job accurately. And so I think, you know, and I'll be honest with you, if you come to the elections office and you look, we have a brag wall of all of our boards that we've run, because yes, and also a map of the United States and a map of the world. And there's an orange dot that indicates all the election administrators from around the world that have come to King County elections to see what we're doing. They want, a lot of them don't have the resources or the support that we have with our executive and our legislators, right? But they want to be able to do those things when they come, and we learn side by side with each other. Will, would you agree? Yeah, I mean, these folks really are trying to do the best they can. Some of them can't, and the resources aren't there. They don't have a state-of-the-art facility. They don't have the ability to do vote by mail. Or I mean, like during 2020, I can't tell you how many counties called us frantic and were like, we have to do vote by mail. We can't open polling places because we're in the middle of a global pandemic. How do we even do that? We gave them everything. All of our procedures, our vendors, our processes, our templates for our envelopes, our ballots, anything to be able to help them. And that's the election community of election administrators, is all about helping one another to make sure that we're running really solid elections. So again, I think there's it depends on what the legislators and what folks are doing in those states. I mean, you look at Texas and it's like they were only allowed to have 1 drop box per county, and you've got lines of people for 9 hours. I mean, just blatant disenfranchisement. It's painful for those election administrators. Since 2016, in this narrative around vote by mail and election administrators are fraud and horrible people, we've had death threats. We've had envelopes with fentanyl in it, been told to kill myself. I mean, we've been told all kinds of stuff. There's been a massive exodus of really solid election administrators in this country, and it's absolutely sad. They've been bullied and screamed at their kids' baseball games. It's just a really nutty, awful thing. But I gotta tell you, all of us are like, there's just a few really loud, awful ones. That's not the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people are appreciative and thankful, and you know, and so we rally around, I think, and support each other really, really well. I was gonna, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I know it's scary. I know it can feel hopeless. I hope you feel empowered and encouraged to continue the great work that you're doing. It really does matter. Every single voice being heard in our elections is critically important. There's important issues on the ballot. So I appreciate you all very much. We're here if you have any questions, need anything, any ideas. We really appreciate you. And thanks so much for the opportunity. Really like it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you to everyone who stuck this out. we are going to wrap up very close to being on time. Quick reminders, so we're in like peak fundraising season right now. So everybody wants your money. There are 4 events coming up over the course of the next month or so. 3 of them fundraisers for other folks. So we have Executive Zavalai's annual Hometown Heroes fundraiser. The 34th Dems have sponsored a table. So for any of these, you can talk to me if you'd like to join the table. We can get you a seat. We have links available so you, when you go on to get your ticket, you automatically come to our table. Another is Congresswoman Jayapal's Build Our America fundraiser. I got to go last year, it was an incredible event. They have musical guests, all these super fun things. The third fundraiser is King County Councilmember Mosqueda's Mosqueda Momentum Filing Week fundraiser. Fun title. So all of these are between now, really close to the end of this month, and May 6th. The 4th event that you'll see up here is our monthly pop-up social. This month, it's at Jules Mays Saloon down on Airport Way in Georgetown. Really cool, very Seattle grungy spot. Happens to be in our district, so be sure to come check that out. Last thing, because I said everybody wants your money, we have our fundraiser. So our fundraiser is scheduled for the last Saturday, that's May 30th. It's gonna be at the brand new White Center, continuing our theme of having our fundraiser at brand new community areas. Last year we had it at the Washington State Black Legacy Institute, which was a brand new facility last year, here in West Seattle. This year, we're moving it down to White Center at the brand new White Center Hub, in Savusa Hall, which is named after Cindy Savusa, who is an incredible community organizer from our district, and is actually one of our delegates to the state convention this year. So really exciting stuff. The sponsorship this year has been incredible. So last year we closed our fundraiser with about 16 sponsors. This year we already have 24. They're current and former elected officials from the federal to the local level, candidates, active members of this organization. Ton of people coming to this event. Really excited. The space is limited. Tickets are live. So make sure you go secure your tickets. We are still looking for sponsors. So and we also have table opportunities available. So if you're part of an organization and you'd like to buy a full table, we have one table, which is our community champions table. Includes 7 seats, and you'll be sat with a community champion. That could be a local elected official or community leader. And then we also have general tables available, which are the full table with 8 seats. And by purchasing tables, you get discounts on individual tickets. So all of those opportunities are available. Again, May 30th, there's a cocktail hour before, that will start at 5:30, but the main event itself starts at 6:30. So with that, if anyone has anything for good of the order, you're welcome to come up, take the mic, and do your spiel, and then once we are through with everybody who has anything to say, we will adjourn. So anyone for good of the order? Anyone going twice? Anyone going 3 times? All right, thank you all for being here. We will call it at officially 9:06. We'll see you all next month. Thank you.